Well, it's time to have a tough conversation here about lockdowns again. I can't believe we're having this conversation. A big Supreme Court ruling, and finally, buddy, if you're short, don't do this. All that's coming up now on I'm Right. We need to get a couple house cleaning items out of the way before I dig into the main topic at hand here for the opening. First of all, we had another pro-abortion Supreme Court ruling today with, surprise, surprise, John Roberts signing with the leftists. I'll just say this before I get to my big Supreme Court segment here in a couple. Can we stop these games about pretending the court isn't partisan, should be bipartisan? The court is partisan. Let's pack it with our people and not theirs. That's for another moment. Now, something else we have to get over. I see this a lot on the right, and I understand why you do it because I've done these things before too. But you and I both need to stop doing it and clean this up. What I'm talking about is assigning things where both parties are to blame only to Democrats because it makes us feel better. And what I'm talking about is this. The lockdowns that have wiped out 40 million jobs. Oh yeah, those jobs are still gone. That was Republicans and Democrats. The George Floyd protests that have now burned for almost a month in the United States of America. Looting, rioting, murders. That was Republicans too. We've had now 3 months of our party joining with the leftists to crush your liberty and to do this, see, I'm not racist thing. They have. Have they done it as bad as the leftists have? No, of course not. But is that our standard now for our party? Is that what we want? To be crappy, just not quite as crappy as them? Or do we want bold leadership? Do we choose to be Republicans because we want the opposite of what the left is doing? That's what I did. I don't want to be like them just a little less. I want to be like me. I want liberty. I want to be the party that treats each and every individual as an individual without caring about skin color, good or bad. I don't want race pandering. I find it to be disgusting. I think it's awful. Oh, well, we have to do this because the Hispanics will love that. But you know what? How about a police reform bill? The black people will love that. Oh, well, we can't risk the whites. What should we do for the whites? Who thinks like this? Apparently, all of D.C. thinks like this. Does that sound gross to you? I think that sounds gross. And you know what? I don't want to be pandered to that way. Well, let's see. He is white. He's working class. Well, he's probably somebody. We need the white working class. So what would Jesse like as a white working class? But I'm an individual. I'm an American. I don't share this common burden or common success of everybody else who has my skin color. I have my own individual wants, needs, and desires. Stop this race pandering nonsense. Republicans, too. And again, you want Exhibit A? Let me just cover something for you real quick here. Remember the lockdowns? The lockdowns we like to all blame on Democrats now. That came directly from President Donald Trump and President Donald Trump's advisors. It did. It was supported by everybody in Donald Trump's administration. And it was also supported by Texas governor, my governor, Greg Abbott. We locked down the state. We like to point and make fun of all these other idiotic places. New York's so stupid. I know lots of business owners here that are wiped out, closed, forever, gone, bankruptcy, because Texas locked down. Well, I know you, if you're not in Texas, you like to imagine Texas as this bastion of freedom. Jesse, when will Texas secede? Buddy, are you sure you want it to? Because Texas did this. They went right from locking down, helping wipe out its own economy, to the George Floyd fiasco, where we had a 6,000-person George Floyd funeral, and that's on the low end as far as people who were out and about. I know because it took place in the Houston area where I am, and guess what? The funeral, the events, the mourning, the everything else took place with government approval. In fact, our government officials were there. Most of them were there. So Texas goes from locking down to this massive funeral. Oh, and a quick side note while I'm going off on that. If I seem upset today, it's because I am. Do you know how many emails I got from people who couldn't see their father, mother, brother, sister while they were dying in the hospital and did die during the coronavirus thing? Not from coronavirus, of course. It was always from something else. They couldn't go in to see them. Couldn't attend their funeral with other human beings. And George Floyd can have a 6,000 person funeral. So we're going to go from lockdowns. Don't go to your funeral. Don't go to your mom's funeral. But are you trying to kill people? We're going from that to, oh, St. George. Woo! I'm so sad. Coronavirus must be gone now. We're going from that to the George Floyd funeral to, well, we're going to have to lock down again. Sorry. Look, Texas's own governor, Texas's Republican governor, new restrictions on restaurants, bars shut down. Again, I hate to do this because I am Team Republican. I'm Team Anti-Democrat. We need to stop with this, Democrats and their lockdowns, ridiculous. Democrats and these idiot race riots, ridiculous. It's Republicans too. It's Republicans too. And it's from the top to the bottom. You know who had some nice things to say about the new close down by Governor Abbott? Here's somebody, you may recognize him.
To meet this moment. I also want to commend the governor for your decisive action. Reopening this economy, which began in early May, is a tribute to your leadership and the steady progress in putting Texas back to work. It's something every Texan can be proud of. But with the development of these new cases, as you said, going from 2,000 a day to 5,000 a day, positivity rate going from roughly 4% to 13%. We're grateful, Governor, that you've taken the steps that you've taken to limit the kind of gatherings and meeting at certain places in communities that may well be contributing to the community spread that we're seeing in Texas and in states like Arizona and Florida and California as well.
The kind of gatherings where it might be spread. Man, it almost sounds like a bunch of people were packed in together at one place at one time. Man, you know, I can't think of where that would have been. Must be the local bar's fault. Oh, well, screw them. Governor Gavin Newsom, following the Texas governor's lead? Yeah, okay. Quote, due to the new rising spread of COVID-19, California is ordering bars to close in Fresno, Imperial, Kern, Kings, Los Angeles, San Joaquin, and Tulare, while recommending they close in Contra Costa, Riverside, Sacramento, San Bernardino, Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, Stanislaus, and Ventura. Stanislaus really stuck out there to me. I don't know who founded that one, but he was an outside-the-box thinker. Anyway, so California's governor's doing the same thing that Texas governor's doing? I mean, look here's a picture. You remember, these are the protests. These have been the Black Lives Matter protests. Not a single Republican, to my knowledge, has spoken out against these from top to bottom. Here they were. Here's the George Floyd funeral. In case you missed that earlier, here's the protest. Here's the George Floyd funeral. This was all over town. That's a small sampling of what you're seeing all over town. I know, I live here. People packed by the thousands. Lockdown, then 1,000-person funeral several times over. Then, wow, coronavirus is back. Man, you better close your bar. You're clearly part of the problem. No, you're part of the problem. I am done with weak Republicans. I'm done with them. I don't care. I don't need to be invited to fancy parties. I'm done with this crap. This party had better wake up right now. Get some balls. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. Now, You know what else should make you uncomfortable? You know those 40 million jobs I talked about in the beginning? They're still gone. The stock market still high, but the Fed is pumping money into it by the trillion and holding interest rates low. We don't have to guess how that story ends. That story only ends one way, and that's that bubble going pop. And if you have all your money in stocks and bonds with your 401k or IRA, it's going pop too, and it's going to vanish like that. All that money you worked hard for is gone. It doesn't have to be, though. You can get a hold of Birch Gold right now and find out about their precious metals IRA. They'll give you a free kit on how to do it. They'll walk you through the entire process. This is a company with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to birchgold.com/Jesse. That's birchgold.com/Jesse. Protect your financial future. We'll be back. There are two huge factors in why Americans like you and I feel completely surrounded culturally right now. We feel like nobody has our back. In fact, kind of feels like everybody's against you sometimes, right? Don't worry, everybody's not against you. That's a bunch of garbage. You have me, and what else do you need? Anyway, be that as it may. Two reasons. One, as I laid out in the beginning, the Republican Party has no spine, and sometimes they just flat out joined along with the leftists. That's one. Two, corporate America. Corporate America and all these different little activist groups have joined together to assault you, to assault your liberty, to assault your intelligence repeatedly. And why are these corporate companies, why are these big companies doing this? And it's the biggest companies out there, right? Black Lives Matter logos when it's a commie leftist front group. Black Lives Matter this, Black Lives Matter that. Why are they doing all these stupid things? Well, couple reasons. One, they are leftists now. And the reason they're leftists now is the American university system is consistently churning out these vicious little commies because that's what the American university system does. And by the way, not a single Republican has suggested doing anything about the American university system. That's one reason. But a second reason, they're scared. These corporations are not impervious to being scared. Just like Republicans are not impervious to being scared. People are operating out of fear. People do not want these left-wing mobs standing on their doorstep, digitally or literally. They don't want it. They're scared of it. So they think they can, be proactive when it comes to these things. Oh, look what we did. Look what we did. I sat down last night, had a conversation with my buddy. He runs a very large business down here in the Houston area. And we had a conversation about the cops, and the cops feel really left out right now, really put down right now. And we were kind of putting our heads together about what can we do? Let's do something about it. What we came up with was this. Why don't we put on a big fundraiser for the cops? Nothing huge, not really about raising them money, more about showing them respect, whatever, make them some burgers or something like that. And he and I had this discussion of, can he risk doing that? Now, this is not political, mind you, not political at all, just like a Back the Blue barbecue or something like that. Some pulled pork sandwiches, whatever it may be. Cops eat free, raise a little money for them, throw them a little cheddar cheese, just a way to say thanks. That's all, nothing big. And he honestly questioned, and we sat down and had a long talk about it and still haven't made a decision yet. Can he afford to do that? Think how insane that is. Because he's right. That's a huge risk. That's where we are in America. A pro-cop barbecue, not Democrat, not Republican, not anti-anybody. A pro-cop barbecue can potentially wipe your business out. That's where we are. Man, that is a sad state of affairs. We have gotten this whole thing backwards, and we better figure it out. Of all the headlines I'm about to read you, this one I actually think might be most appropriate. This is from the New York Post. I'm not making this up. National anthem should be changed to John Lennon's Imagine, activists say. You know what? For this generation, I actually say that is entirely appropriate. That whiny, miserable song is perfect for this generation of soft Americans. Next headline. This isn't a headline, it's just a picture. This is a protest outside of Jeff Bezos' house. Jeff Bezos is the guy who owns, everything. I mean, he owns Amazon and Washington Post, richest guy in the world. Amazon works directly with police to surveil us, stoking racist fears in the name of profit. This is what it says on the sign. Doubling down on their union busting and mistreatment of workers, Amazon fired and racially slandered labor organizer Chris Smalls. Join us to tell Jeff Bezos enough is enough. End the abuse and profiteering. Abolish the police, the prisons, and Amazon. And then they put a little mini guillotine out in front. The guillotine, for you uneducated types who didn't go to my community college, that's the thing that cut people's heads off during the French Revolution. Well, here's one big problem with that. During the French Revolution, the rich people, even if they had firearms, you'd have, a musket. And then when a mob of 40 people shows up with muskets and you're inside with one musket, you're in trouble. We don't have just muskets here anymore. Keep that in mind. L'Oreal is going to tackle racism, and they're going to tackle racism right now. Quote, the beauty company announced it had decided to remove the words white, whitening, fair, fairness, light, and lightning from all its skin evening products. Whew. The last generation had Martin Luther King. We have L'Oreal. That is powerful stuff. Johnson & Johnson put out a statement about honestly, on my life, these are real, about their dark spot cream that's been popular overseas. Quote, conversations over the past few weeks highlighted that some product names or claims on our Neutrogena and Clean and Clear dark spot reducer products represent fairness or white as better than your own unique skin tone. This was never our intention. Healthy skin is beautiful skin. Thank you so much, Johnson & Johnson, for clearing up that racism of dark spot remover. Band-Aid is actually now going to release all skin tones, except they already did that 5 years ago. But their quote is, quote, we hear you, we see you, we're listening to you. We are committed to launching a range of bandages in light, medium, and deep shades of brown and black skin tones that embrace the beauty of diverse skin. We're dedicated to inclusivity and providing the best healing solutions, better representing you. People, this world has gone nuts, but don't fear this. Don't fear that you're alone. Are we surrounded culturally? Absolutely. I'm not going to paint a rosy picture on that. You are not alone. There are a lot of Americans that look at this stuff and they roll their eyes and think this world's gone nuts. So there's plenty of us. We're all in this together, as the saying goes. Anyway, I'm still going to sleep like a baby tonight. It's not because we're not in trouble. I mean, we're in trouble, but I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight because I have an ebb sleep. You see, ebb sleep provides precise, continuous cooling to your forehead area, which calms down the thoughts keeping you awake. I know what you go through, especially now. With everything going on in the news, I lay down and I just, what about this, what about that? Not with an ebb sleep anymore. You put it on. It's not drugs. It's not pills. It's not a mouthpiece. You put it on and you zonk out. The worst thing I can say about ebb sleep, it's cost me my ability to nap properly because I slept so good the night before all the time. Go to tryebb.com/Jesse. That's tryebb.com/Jesse. Don't forget to use the promo code Jesse at checkout. Get $25 off. All right, we got more. Hang on. Joining me now is BearingArms.com's very own Cam Edwards, show regular Cam Edwards. Cam, rocking the t-shirt today?
It's a little hot outside, Jesse. It's, almost July in Virginia, so it's like 95 degrees with 98% humidity. So not only am I rocking the t-shirt, I'm not even wearing pants.
You know what? I support you, Cam. It's Monday. Live free or die. Live free or die. Cam, I am displeased quite a bit with my own party. I expect leftists to lose their mind. I expect leftists in response to a virus to wipe out their own economy because they don't care about their economy. I expect leftists when a cop kills a guy completely unnecessarily. I expect leftists to pounce on that and divide the society up by race. I expect all these things, Cam. What I also expect is my own party to have the balls to stand up to them. And instead, my own party from top to bottom has laid down for every inch of it, and I've had enough.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Jesse. Listen, I mean, you and I have talked enough that I'm a fairly even-keeled kind of guy. I don't like to spend my days outraged and angry. But I got to tell you, man, I mean, seeing some of these stories over the weekend, especially, I've just got to think that there are a ton of Americans like me who are fed up with seeing some of these headlines and seeing the destruction that's taking place all around this country.
How many, Cam? That's the great question right now is how many? Setting aside the Republican Party, I'll get back to savaging them in a minute. How much popular support do these absurd riots have? I mean, of course, it's everywhere in corporate America. It's everywhere in the media. It's everywhere on social media. You can't escape the thing. But how much actual support percentage-wise in America do these things have? What are they even protesting about at this point?
I mean, at this point, it seems like a lot of people are just out there protesting to protest. And in terms of the support, listen, I think that there is less support by the day, but I think that there's a growing fear every day among Americans who, gosh, I mean, if you speak out, if you speak up, if you say, wow, this is wrong, you could lose your job. You could lose your livelihood, the career that you worked for. You could be depersoned and deplatformed and canceled simply for expressing your First Amendment right to free speech. So people shut up.
People do shut up, and it's so funny you brought that up because in the segment just before this, I talked about a friend of mine who runs a big business down here. We had a personal conversation last night. He wants to do something for the local police, a fundraiser or something, and he's scared, Cam. He's scared if he puts on a non-political fundraiser just to say, I love the police, his business will be destroyed. Is that really what we've descended into? Because he's not necessarily wrong either. That anything could happen if he did that.
I mean, yeah, that is where we've descended at this point. We are, in the midst of a witch hunt. I mean, and you can look back at some of the time periods in American history that the left, generally objected to, like McCarthyism. And we are right back there now, where if you speak up and you're not towing the party line, the Democrat Party line, the far left line of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, then yes, you are a part of the problem. I just saw a story today, Jesse, out of Seattle, out of the CHOP area, where a guy whose brother was killed by the Seattle police back in 2016. This guy went to work, got actually a police accountability bill through the legislature. He shows up at CHOP today and he's trying to talk with these activists, say, listen, it's time for you guys to pack up and go home. The mayor's right. You're causing more damage than you're helping right now. And they're yelling at him. They're calling him a bootlicker. Here's somebody who's actually done something to affect change. And he's now on the wrong side of history, according to these activists. So the sooner you're right, the sooner we all gather our collective stones and start to stand up to the rage mob, then the sooner this all ends. And it doesn't require sending out the National Guard. It requires Americans growing a spine. That's it.
Cam, speaking of stones, as uncomfortable as this may be for several of my viewers, let's be honest about this, Cam. Donald Trump has not been what we needed him to be throughout this process. Setting aside the coronavirus stuff, I only brought that up because we're back to being locked down here in Texas. This Black Lives Matter thing, we now have a news report out that instead of fighting back, changing the narrative, or somebody in his administration invited in Van Jones to consult on a anti-police bill. Cam, what in the world is going on in the White House right now when people are desperate for leadership and Republicans have turned their backs?
Well, listen, I don't know what's going on inside the White House. I mean, we saw today that charges announced against 4 people who were trying to tear down Andrew Jackson's statue. I think the president right now is looking at the polling. He's trying to triangulate as best he can. Things like police reform is a popular measure. And Jesse, look, there's some things that I don't object to. I have no problem with no-knock raids disappearing, for example. I think that adding body cameras is helpful to not only the public, but to police. Bringing in somebody like Van Jones, I don't know if that's the best idea. But, I think the president has done a decent job in his response, given the limitations that the federal executive has. And also given the fact that, like it or not, we are waging a culture war battle. And we can't expect the president to fight all of these battles for us. We can't expect politicians to fight all these battles for us. We talk about politics being downstream from culture, which is why ultimately the politicians are going to respond to what the American people are doing. And right now, unfortunately, the media is portraying, these riots and these violent protests as something that Americans embrace and actually approve of. And I just don't think that's accurate at all.
I don't think it's accurate at all either, Cam, but that's exactly my point. The media is portraying this. The media is portraying that. Our president has got to be above that and know for a fact the media has an agenda anyway. How is the president of the United States fooled by the media? We now have a sea of people out there who feel leaderless and voiceless, specifically because Republicans have tried to do the Democrat thing just a little less.
That may be, but I think it's going to be up to the American people to lead the way here. If you are a conservative, you look back over the past 20 years, and it is I wouldn't say it's an unending stream of disappointments, but you are regularly disappointed by the Republican Party. You are regularly disappointed by people who call themselves conservatives. What we're seeing right now, Jesse, I just saw a story out of Lebanon, Tennessee, where a group of military veterans standing guard over a war memorial. In a small town in Missouri, a sheriff was threatened over the weekend. About 100 armed citizens showed up to protect the sheriff and his deputies from rumors of a mob. The American people are responding here, and I think we're going to respond. What we need to do, though, I think is, again, keep our calm. One of the things that the left wants to do is they want to ramp up this emotion. They want to ramp up the conflict. They believe that conflict is necessary in order for them to win, when frankly, most Americans, again, we just want to get back to some semblance of normalcy. We don't want to see injustice. We don't want to see a nation that is bitterly divided. But we aren't ready for the revolution. We're not calling for a revolution in our streets as well. And again, I think it's up to us, each and every one of us, to do our part to ensure that America gets back to some semblance of normalcy.
Agreed. Cam Edwards, BearingArms.com. Thank you, my friend.
Always good talking with you, Jesse. Stay cool in lockdown, man.
Oh, yeah. You know what isn't good? Being financially ruined when it's not your fault. Do you know there's a big cybercrime out there right now and you probably don't even know about it? I mean, everyone's heard of identity theft, right? You can't escape it. Or identity theft this. Buy our service. We'll protect you from identity theft. Or credit card theft. I've had my credit card stolen like a dozen times. That's not even an exaggeration. Somebody's always jacking it from cyberspace and paying some money here or there. You know how much money that's ever cost me, ever? Nothing. Not a dime. Credit card company just gives it right back and they go working out. The big cybercrime that's destroying people to the extent the FBI is worried about it is home title theft. I know. I didn't even know it was a thing until I found out it was a thing. You see, your home title, it's not a piece of paper anymore sitting in a bank vault. Your home title's online. Somebody with the know-how, these cyber criminal guys, they can snap that thing up like that and put your real-looking signature on it. Then they take in 100% real-looking home title and they take out a loan against it. And guess who gets the bill for that? You get the bill for that. And not a $20 bill either. You get the kind of bill that can wipe you out financially and wipe out your credit. You actually might already be a victim of it and don't know it. Go to HometitleLock.com, put in your address, and see if you're already a victim of it. While you're there, use the code Jesse. Get yourself 30 free days of protection. HometitleLock.com. Don't wait until you're already wiped out and then kick yourself for not doing it. All right, we'll be back. We lost another Supreme Court ruling today. I know the hits just keep on coming right now. Look, you better find a way to laugh. Highly recommend you tune into I'm Right every night, because what else are we going to do? This just sucks. Maybe pause the show real quick if you have the ability to do so, and just go grab a bourbon and come back. But we lost an abortion ruling in the Supreme Court. Of course, that dirty snake, John Roberts, screwed us over again. Thanks for that, Supreme Court appointee, George Bush. That one's really working out well. He continues to screw us time and time again. And we just need to have a real brief, frank conversation about the Supreme Court, because this is what I see. And I see it all the time. The left They believe 100% in super left-wing judges who don't care about interpreting squat or precedent or what the law says. They want super left-wing judges who will be left-wing activists for their cause. People on the right, what do we look for? Well, I want somebody who will be nonpartisan. The judges are supposed to not be partisan, just interpret the law. Let's go, or precedent, or they start using all the Latin words all these people love. Well, it's the writ of habeas corpus, and nobody knows what you're talking about. Speak English. That's another matter. Let's stop doing that. Let's stop these kid games where we act like, well, they want activists. I don't, though. I want activists. I want hardcore, libertarian-ish, right-wing activists who will take every single bit of leftism in this country when they get it in front of their desk as a judge and slash it and burn it and pull their pants down and pee on the ashes in front of the leftists. That's what I want. I don't want nonpartisan judges. I want activists. That's what they want. That's what I want. And I'm done playing these games as if the Supreme Court is it's some lofty, nonpartisan institution. They're really just in their black robes, interpreting the law as Thomas Jefferson would have. Oh, shut up. No, they're not. It's a bunch of Democrats and Republicans and a couple of spineless wimps like John Roberts who could go either way. Let us get more of us than there are of them. Of course, Bernie Sanders, who believes in the wholesale slaughter of babies before he can put them on government welfare, said this, quote, "Extremist Republican legislators lost it again today. Abortion is a constitutional right, and we will make darn sure it stays that way." I threw in the darn because it's a family show. Bernie did not use darn. Not to brag or anything. Quote, Kamala Harris got in on this action, as she often does. "A huge victory for reproductive rights. Abortion is a fundamental issue of justice in America, and we will never stop fighting for it." Thankfully, we still do have senators like Ted Cruz, though. You know what? Maybe we do need him on the Supreme Court instead. Here's what he had to say.
Today's decision from the U.S. Supreme Court in Department of Homeland Security versus Regents of the University of California is disgraceful. Judging is not a game. It's not supposed to be a game. But sadly, over recent years, more and more Chief Justice Roberts has been playing games with the court to achieve the policy outcomes he desires.
That's right. And you know, that's what's at stake for this next election. I need to be clear about something before we wrap this little segment up here. When I start taking some shots at Trump, at Republicans, at their weakness, I'm not doing it because I hate them. I mean, I hate some of them. I'm not doing it because I hate them. And I'm also not going to do this thing where I do it because I care, because everyone knows I don't care about anything. I'm a soulless, horrible monster. I'm doing it because I want them to improve. I want them to get better. I know they listen to my radio show. I know they watch me on I'm Right because they send me messages. And I get these messages, and I'll tell you, and I'm never going to name drop them. I'm tired of getting text messages for, hey, I really want to oppose this crappy bill, but I don't know how to do it with my election coming up. I don't even respond to them anymore. Republicans, we need you there because we need judges. We need a lot more Republican judges. We need 4 more years of Trump, even if you're mad at him. Can you imagine the kind of judges we're going to get under that brain-dead idiot Biden? We can't afford that. I'm being harsh because I care. Please, for the love of everything, wake up. Wake up. We need you. And there are people out there, a lot of them, they're dying for leadership right now. You have to provide it. Someone will. If the good people do not step up when there is a leadership vacuum, bad people will. That is a historical inevitability. The good people better step up and find their spine, or we are in bad trouble. All right, we got more. Joining me now is somebody, hopefully, who has some spine because our party desperately needs some. Her name is Anne Marie Ward. She is running for Congress as a candidate in Arizona, and I know that area very, very well. What's Arizona like since I left the place about 10 years ago?
Well, Arizona is a place in which we are still, in most of the parts, especially in my district in rural Arizona, we are strongly American. This is an area where you drive along the blocks and you will see an American flag on every house, and they are disgruntled. They are tired of career politicians. They are tired of, as you called them, the spineless politicians. They are tired of not seeing our next generation step up. And that's what made me really run to get in here. We need that.
Why are you running? You're not old and all wrinkled up yet. You are young. Why are you running? I don't understand. I thought it was just a bunch of old men up there.
You know, and that's a great point. We need that next generation. We need somebody for this next generation to follow. As we look around at the national scene, we are seeing socialism as a widely used phrase. We are seeing college students get behind this idea that looting is somehow a First Amendment right. We are seeing our statues torn down, and we do not have the representation on the right that this next generation needs to follow. And we need to show them that the Republican Party is a party of morals, of values, of a strong backbone that is going to lead change, to find solutions. And we have not had that, and it's time.
It is time, and I'm glad you brought that up because I have to tell you, I'm sure you saw we have a new anti-abortion ruling, pro-abortion, I should say, ruling from the Supreme Court today. Of course, John Roberts knifed us all in the back yet again. I know that's a big surprise to everybody. And it really took me back to the Republican Party. Every time, running for Congress, running for Senate, running for president, I will defund Planned Parenthood. You know, they love that one. I will defund Planned Parenthood. I will defund Planned Parenthood. And then we get the president, House, and Senate. Don't do a daggone thing about it. I am tired of that. In my email inbox, it is blowing up with other people tired of that right now, too.
And you're right, Jesse. I just went to my, not email inbox, but post office box today, and it was once again stuffed full of postcards of constituents in my district that said, please support pro-life. That is who we are. That is what we want. We know this is what America wants. I'm a mom of 2 children, and I'm a woman. And looking at this decision was a big step backwards for us. We had the prime opportunity to change the precedent, and we failed. It was a very disappointing move by the Chief Justice. I think this was a huge mistake. It was a huge step backwards, not just for all of the unborn children. That is one of the saddest things we can look at, but also because the left tends to neglect what happens to that mother. I cannot tell you how many women I talked to who are now pro-life that went through an abortion and said, it's horrible. The physical pain on the body, the mental strain, the emotional strain. And nobody's talking about that. It's a politically driven thing, and it was a big mistake. We really erred.
You're in Arizona. I know some people who are geographically challenged may find this shocking, but Arizona actually has a border with Mexico, and therefore there's a huge illegal immigration problem there. What has Arizona been able to do to tighten that up since I left?
You know, one of the first trips I took when I hit the campaign trail, and I've spent 40,000 miles on the road since I started in November. And one of those first trips I took was to the border to find out what was actually going on. I know we hear so much on the news and we read the paper, but I wanted to go see for myself. And it was really quite disappointing, Jesse, because what I heard from the men and women down there was that while they always need manpower, they always need that technology, they need the support of policymakers. And much of their struggles comes from court decisions that stop the actual law. And unfortunately, they can't do their job. And they said, look, we need the barrier. We need that wall. It gives us time to respond. But we also need to be able to do our job. And right now, we are hamstrung from doing our job. And I said, well, you have allegedly some of the most conservative Republicans serving in the state. What support have you gotten? And they said none. They all come down, they all have their picture taken, they all give the statement of we are going to crack down on these immigration problems. And really right now, their greatest concern there is all the human trafficking, which no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you should be behind stopping that human trafficking. So this is really the prime time to be talking about all of the factors that are so important in cracking down. And until President Trump, they have not had that support that they needed. And it needs to be there. We have to have actual leaders at the table, not people that are warming the chair. We've had enough of the career politicians.
Amen. Speaking of protecting yourself as a woman, well, as an American, period, but especially as a woman, this world seems to be getting more and more dangerous right now. You don't have to look very hard to find violence all over the news. And I don't see any expansion of Second Amendment rights coming from anyone with a position of power right now, too. Shouldn't this be a time our leaders, I should do the air fingers quote, leaders in Congress, Senate, presidency are out there telling Americans, get trained, get armed now, because you never know what you're going to run into out there on the roads.
And you're absolutely right. And if you have followed me or looked at my website, we have a great video called God, Guns, in the Great State of Arizona. And you can see me shooting a 50 cal off of a up-armored Humvee. We are pretty strong pro-gun. You can find that at my website, www.annemarieforcongress.com. And I am a huge Second Amendment supporter. My dad is 76, Vietnam era. I grew up shooting an M1 carbine and moved on from there. The idea of being able to protect ourselves, we saw that recently with these homeowners that they trespassed and then they're trying to protect their home. And I think this is one of those times where we could really lead policy change. All of the restrictions and regulations in the world are never going to stop a criminal. Even when Reagan was shot, he said, look, there's some 20,000 gun laws in the book, and it didn't stop anyone from shooting me. Or it didn't stop someone. So you're right. This is a time to be able to champion our gun rights, and it's not being done.
Anne Marie Ward, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Good luck to you out there. Go get them.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.
You bet. How about that? Get some fresh blood in Congress. All right. This dude. Don't be this dude. Hang on. I'll show you. We need to take a moment now and then to remember how blessed we are. Think how blessed you are. I mean, it ever takes a moment, even if life is tough, even if, things are bad in the country, even if things are bad for you personally, professionally, whatever the case may be. Maybe you got dumped because you were too annoying. Who knows? We need to take a moment and remember that you still have a lot to be thankful for. A lot of people out there are suffering from things. Some people, dudes, are even suffering from shortness.
It's difficult for a real beautiful woman.
Fellas, no, don't do that. It's bad enough to be short. Don't try to cover it up. Just get some lifts or something. All right, see you tomorrow.